Greetings, friends, and welcome once again to my YouTube channel. Today, we will discuss the steps that are quintessential towards building big brands. In order to do that, the first step is to place the brand in the mind of your consumer. So let us decode the mystique of brand associations. Now, when you scrape your knee, what would you do? Would you ask for a bandage or would you ask for a band-aid? Well, friends, the key to making your brand synonymous to the category lies in the channel of effective communication and positioning. So how does one do it? In order to do it, your brand story has not only to be compelling, but the elements of your story must be perceived as being favorable, credible, and valuable to the consumer. And it is imperative that marketeers do constant research to gauge the effectiveness of their communication and to see whether the perception in the mind of the consumer centers around these three critical elements. The sum total of these three elements is what makes your offering or your brand unique to the needs and the minds of your consumer, and it carves a unique space in the mind of your consumer. When this happens, you are able to increase the brand awareness by communicating value so that the customer truly perceives the value that she can derive through the use of your brand or your molecule. And in the process, she is willing to make a trade-off between price and value. She doesn't mind paying a premium for the value that she perceives behind the use of your brand. So this is how you are able to increase the top of mind awareness for your brand and take all the efforts to make it synonymous with your category, from a situation of trying to create awareness towards building recognition, recall, and finally, top of mind recall. So there are three fundamental questions you need to answer in the construct of your brand strategy. The first question, what is the highest and best use of your brand or category? So you do the prescription audit and you see the saliency in terms of the indication, and that gives you a direction towards the core usage of your brand or your category. And these are called your patient segments. And then you prioritize based on your ability to win and the size of the opportunity in order to operate in these segments. The next question you need to ask is, who has the maximum established and emerging need of its applications? So again, here in the prescription audit, you will see the prescriber saliency and you will see the prescriber growth. I think when you see the prescriber growth, you should also look at the emerging prescribers where the growth rate has been increasing in the recent past. So this gives you an indicator that these are the specialists who are picking up the usage of your brand and your molecule. And this has to be effectively supplemented by proper interaction and research with the consumer to identify both the triggers and the barriers of what drives molecule and brand usage in those patient segments in their clinical practice. And to connect the two, what is most critical is the value proposition. How does your offering satisfy the need better than the comparator? So this can be in the form of a technological feature that translates into a unique benefit to the consumer or to the patient in a manner that's better than your competitor, or it can be an initiative that you are driving in your therapy area to satisfy an unmet need to take care of the patients in a much better manner and help improve patient outcomes as compared to your competition. And that is the value proposition that you bring together to add muscle and power to your brands. So the key thing is to find that sweet spot that intersects beautifully between the need of the consumer and your capability or your offering. Like take, for example, helping your consumer detect and diagnose angina, which is most often misdiagnosed. So can we create diagnostic tools or prognostic tools that has applications in clinical practice that helps the primary care physician not to miss out and to increase the clinical suspicion so that the patient can be referred to an advanced cardiac centers? If you are able to take care of this need, then you create a strong emotional bond in the mind of the consumer in taking care of the need that is most pertinent to their practice in saving lives and help improving outcomes. So find that sweet spot, your value proposition, because that defines the very core of your marketing effort. In order to create a brand positioning statement, the four things you need to keep in mind is first, your target customer, the demographic profile and the psychographic profile. What are the barriers and triggers that influence the use of your molecule or your brand in clinical practice for their patient segments? Be very clear about your category, which is going to define your source of growth, because you will play your competitive advantages versus your source of growth. The third thing, as I mentioned, is the value proposition, the brand promise, the most compelling, unique benefit to your target customers. And finally, the reasons to believe, the credible evidence and clinical data that drives molecule and brand usage. So keep these four factors in mind when you are trying to construct your effective positioning statement. Beneath all this is you need to get to the core and the essence, which is the very positioning of your brand. So you need to do a systematic brand audit. And the elements of the brand audit are firstly, the attributes, the functionality that translates into benefit, which is both the functional benefit as well as the emotional benefit. The emotional benefit is something very important for marketers to consider. Assurance of a peace of mind, a calm way of looking at situations, improved quality of life. Well, these are the emotional benefits that patients often desire in their conditions. In doing so, you define your personality. Is your brand trustworthy? Is your brand dependable? Is your brand credible? Or is it aggressive? Or is it gentle, taking care of the patient's need and providing a calm assurance to the patient? So try to have a sketch of your brand personality, which will drive the manner in which you communicate your brand to consumer. Look at the source of authority and support. So this is the credible endorsement, the guideline recommendations, the body of clinical data, the number of years of experience, the number of patient years that has been characterized in the use of your molecule or your brand. So these are the elements that help you to assert your source of authority and support. The other thing is, what does it say about you as a consumer? Does it reflect that you are up to date with the latest? Are you an innovator, or are you one who's technologically advanced? So if that is the impression that you're giving to the consumer and the consumer feels so, it has to be brought out very subtly in the positioning. And how it makes you feel. Does it make you empowered? Does it make you more confident? Does it make you happy? Because the usage of this molecule or brand is giving benefit to the patient, and it is giving confidence not just to the patient, but also to the caregivers. One of the most important aspects in defining your growth is the flywheel concept. Remember, friends, there's a better way to grow. That is a way to grow better. And the way to grow better is by building sustainable, long-lasting bond of emotional relationships with your customer. This is the model called the flywheel, which was adapted by HubSpot. And this explains the momentum and the drive you give to your brand when you align the entire organization around delivering a remarkable and immersive consumer experience. The amount of energy that is there in the flywheel, which is your brand, depends on, firstly, how fast it spins. And how fast it spins depends on the force that you apply to make it spin faster. The force that you apply is basically the lever in which you will play and you operate. Your area of strength, your competitive advantage, what defines you better as compared to your competitor, right? Where you have been proven to be successful time and again, where you have demonstrable evidence of success. These are the factors that need to be amplified to make your flywheels move faster. Secondly, is to take off the friction it encounters, which is the competitive forces. What is the competitive advantage that you have which your competitors don't have, that makes you the preferred treatment of choice. Also, your internal systems, procedures, is there a kind of bureaucracy that delays decision making and that has an impediment to the momentum of your brand? If so, then we need to address that, and we need to ensure that we minimize the friction to increase the momentum of our brand. And when you do that, you build more consumers. And when you build more consumers, you increase the size of your business, you increase the size of your brands. So remember in the flywheel, the different stages of adoption, and how is it that you can migrate a customer from a prospect or a stranger into a promoter. There are three distinct phases. The first phase is the phase of attraction, where you spell out your value proposition and make the consumer interested in your value proposition, which could be a technological feature, or it could be a unique therapeutic initiative that will help diagnose or treat the patients better than existing choices. So you create that confidence, and thereby you try to attract the consumer. Once you attract, you've got to engage. So have a systematic database. In that systematic database, send interactive communication tools, create chatbots where the consumer can get back to you for any query or any question, and you are able to address those questions in a very timely manner. See how you can best engage your customers with your therapeutic value proposition so that they experience the application of your initiative in their clinical practice, and they are able to diagnose better, treat better, or improve patient outcomes better. And in doing so, you create a distinctive delight in the minds of your customer. So the delight can be created when your experience of the consumer is much better than the expectation. You are able to exceed expectations. And the focus of the marketer in terms of the messaging or in terms of the initiative is to try and exceed expectations of your customer. And thus you will build a very strong, lasting bond of customer loyalty between your business, between your offering and the consumer, which is essential for growth. And that is how you can grow better as compared to find a better way to grow. So friends, remember that the momentum of your happy customers is what will accelerate usage to keep your business spinning and generating revenues. So friends, happy times to all of you in finding that value proposition and distinctive means of engaging your customers through attracting, engagement, and delighting to chart out your brand growth through compelling brand strategies. Thank you for watching my YouTube channel, and wish all of you good luck in creating and building mega brands.